My name's Michelle Yun Maplethorpe, and I'm Vice President for Global Artistic Programs and Director of the Asia Society Museum. Thank you so much for attending the premiere of Shadow Has No Name, a performance by anGie seah, commissioned by Asia Society Museum in New York for the inaugural Asia Society Triennial, We Do Not Dream Alone. This performance is part of the inaugural Asia Society Triennial, Part 2, which is on view through June 27th. The exhibition is free and open to the public, and we welcome you to come for a visit. Time tickets may be reserved through the Asia Society Triennial website. Part 1 of the Triennial was on view from October 27th, 2020 to February 7th, 2021. And for those of you who missed Part 1 or are not able to travel for Part 2 to see the museum, virtual tours for both parts of the exhibition are accessible through our Asia Society Triennial website as well. This evening is the second part of our 6-part virtual performance series as part of the Triennial. Please refer to the Triennial website for more information on this performance and others in the series. The next performance we'll be hosting is an encore presentation of Joyce Ho's An Artist Talk as part of our upcoming Asia Art Game Changer Awards virtual gala to be held on May 5th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on this gala and Joyce Ho's performance, please refer to our website, or you can contact Asia Art Awards at asiasociety.org for more information. The Asia Society Triennial is the first initiative of its kind in the United States that is a multidisciplinary and multi-venue platform with the mandate to champion contemporary Asian and Asian American artists within a global context. The Triennial provides an internationally recognized platform for these artists to push the boundaries of their respective art practices, and it celebrates the power of art to underscore our common humanity, especially amidst this moment of divisiveness and disruption. We hope that during this moment, when discrimination against Asian Americans is at a historic high, that We Do Not Dream Alone can offer much needed solace throughout the healing potential of art to unite and empower. The initiative was co-curated by myself and my predecessor, Boon Hui Tan, who is the founding artistic director of the Triennial. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Agnes Shu Tang for her leadership role as executive chair of the Asia Society Triennial and chair of its steering committee, as well as the many funders and supporters to make this initiative possible. For our members that are tuning in this evening, we thank you so much for your steadfast support of our work, especially now. Your generosity nourishes our resolve to persevere despite these challenging times. And for those of you who are new to Asia Society, we encourage you to become involved. Membership details may be accessed on our website. This ambitious undertaking would not be possible without the support of our many sponsors, and I'd especially like to acknowledge the generous support of Lauren Bogan and Richard Meachkirk for this special performance. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce anGie seah's Shadow Has No Name. Following the performance, please join us for a discussion with the artist. I hope you enjoy the performance. Wow, that was a really powerful performance. Before I bring anGie to join me, I just wanted to share a little bit about her background. anGie Seah's work encompasses drawing, sculpture, sound-based performance, and installation. Her fascination with mysticism and sacred music has really led her to investigate the ways that ritual and mystery permeate everyday life. And a key artistic strategy in her work is a reliance on spontaneity, allowing chance and intuition to function as tools to navigate one through the shifting emotional resonances and psychological states that we go through in life. For over a decade, seah has been creating participatory art projects with communities locally and internationally, and I'll be getting into that with her a little bit as part of our discussion. anGie seah lives and works in Singapore, and it's my pleasure now to introduce and welcome anGie for the part of the discussion for our program. Hi, anGie.
Hi.
Congratulations. That was
Hi.
a fabulous performance. And really powerful, really inspiring. I would love for you to tell us a little bit of your thinking behind the creation of this performance, and maybe also to contextualize it within your larger practice.
Actually, I wanted to create a piece that has a bit of music element in it, because I do have a music band, and I wanted it to I was thinking a lot about the audience also, like how they are able to watch it. And 16 minutes, and I'm trying to create a composition whereby I could add in actions, gestures, objects, and sound, vocals, and of course with musical instrument like a bass guitar, to create this piece. It's more of a them not just watching, but me doing it in a space whereby I feel is very inspiring. Working inside a dragon. I mean, create performance in a dragon kiln has always been an idea that I wanted to explore, and so using that space itself, I've been visiting the space a lot and trying to think what is the content that I wanted to do for this performance. So I wanted it to have a musical element in it too. So,
And for those of our audience who are not familiar with the dragon kiln, can you give them a little bit of a background of what the function of that is and how it was used in terms of, because it's at a very old site in Singapore.
yeah, it's at the end of Singapore, which on the west side. Yeah, it's actually at the border with Malaysia.
Okay.
So this is still in a very nature settings, and this dragon kiln is no longer in use, but the it's a heritage site. So it has been around for like since the 1950s, and it's about 44-meter long. And basically what people does is, I mean, they used to use it for firing the clay, like terracotta, where you wanted a certain kind of finishes for your clay. It has a very burnt finish, so
Very earthy, right?
yes, so you're able to fire it to like about 900 degrees. So
Wow.
the whole entire like 44-meter will be filled with ceramics, where like probably a few, a thousand even, at one time. And it's a very communal thing to do, whereby everybody come together, and fire their own wares, together, and they'll watch the fire all together. So it's like a ritual in a sense, but also a lot of like embodied a kind of collective spirit to do it together. So I really like that energy a lot. So
Oh, that's really beautiful. I mean, and I think it's so fascinating because, you also have a visual art component to the Triennial. You have a fabulous multidisciplinary installation as part of part 2, where you're also using unfired clay hammers as a central aspect of your work. And so I think it's really fascinating that you're connecting your use of this unfired clay with this, site of the Guanhua dragon kiln for this really wonderful continuity. And I also really like the perspective that you just brought up, the idea that, this communal kind of ritual of coming together and creating. And I think that that really resonates so well with your larger body of work too. I mean, I think when I was talking about your biography a little, a couple of moments ago, your longstanding collaboration with communities, and especially, perhaps communities with special needs, or, I know when we were first talking about working together to make a commission for Asia Society, and you were going to come, you had wanted to work with, women who had, experienced domestic violence. And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that communal aspect, and how, even though you weren't able to bring a community together, there is that sense in this piece.
My intention is always wanting to bring contemporary art closer to everyone, not just for the art world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in just showing it, just that certain prestige, that you have in the contemporary art world or the art market. I always feel that you can't buy experience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to put a value like a figure just so that, oh, it's great art, I wanted everyone to have an experience with my work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in order for people who doesn't know about art, and I feel at least they can experience it, So my intention of making work or working with people is always wanting to bring art closer to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel that should be a line drawn across. So for me, that perseverance to continue is always because I want to be closer to people.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, that's fabulous. And I think there is that viscerality to both your visual practice and the performance that is such a kind of very fundamental connection, right? I think, and I think that that idea of clay, when we were talking earlier about the unfired hammers, the material of clay inherently is very malleable, right? And is very kind of, there is a real viscerality. But then as it continues its life, if you leave it out, then it becomes very brittle and rigid. And I feel like that's a really wonderful and apt metaphor for us as human beings, right? As when we're young children, there's this malleability and just, I think more intuitive connection to nature and to the world. And then as you learn and you grow, then you become much more rigid in your ideologies and, in your role in society. And I feel that there's that kind of connection with the hammers, and it's really fascinating. And I would love to then just kind of circle back maybe a little bit to the earlier comment that you were explaining about using the kiln, and this connection between the visual and the oral and the use of your voice. And I can just imagine in that space, the acoustics were really powerful, and, your voice and the sound of the bass guitar would be really vibrating in the space. And maybe talk a little bit about the relationship between the oral and the visual, and how that
when I was performing in the space, I imagine myself, being trapped in the body of an animal, and like, I don't know, it's just feel like I'm contained inside something that is quite hard to explain, and and trying to just stay inside, keeping you safe, and just making connection with the space itself, the energy, And it's funny because after I've completed the performance, me and my bassist, our body were all almost all our skin were black because of the soot from the kiln itself. So we are actually, when it's funny because it feels like it's breathing. The space is breathing, and there's a lot of residue, even air, and I don't have a lot of moments where I felt that I'm alive, in the sense that I'm breathing and I'm working on in a place that is actually still breathing, and perhaps also my imagination thinking that I'm trapped. I'm inside a body, even like a dragon, for instance. That kind of fascinates me.
And
So
no, that's fabulous. I mean, and it's almost also too like you're kind of encased in a cocoon or some kind of, vessel
yes,
like that, or
yes,
membrane, I think. I mean, and just to kind of pivot a little bit in that, thinking about this kind of commune with maybe the subconscious or with nature. I mean, there definitely is a shamanistic element, I think, to your practice that I think really resonates in this particular performance, but I think across your work. And maybe if you could talk about that a little bit, the ritualistic element of your, how you embody your concepts, or go through the performative element.
yeah. I always very fascinated by the unconscious. So in the sense that, like, we have a lot of ritual in Southeast Asia, the action that they do and the offerings and all, it kind of stay in even as in our Chinese culture. There's so many things going on to so basically those action for me is also a way of we have to help ourselves. I feel rituals, in a sense that it's always to help ourselves to carry on, or for something that's quite unexplainable. So I'm always interested in that. And there's few Asian culture that I'm very, very inspired by, like Sulawesi Toraja rituals, for the dead, for instance, and Okinawa ethnic music that is very rooted in vocalization, so there's a lot of technique there. I mean, I'm always quite curious to find out, but it's very hard to kind of copy a certain way of doing it. So as I'm listening, it kind of form a certain kind of I kind of go through a state of trance in a way, like I can't really put a word in it. Like when I'm doing it, I'm actually inside of my body, like just a little person inside me, and I just do with what is, like I don't know who is telling me to do anything, but it's just maybe my spiritual calling. I don't know. So
No,
yeah,
that's great. I mean, I think that it feels like such a sense of catharsis, right? Going through these actions. And I think with the visual installation too, as in the galleries, using your intention for the visitor to use the hammer to gain catharsis, or transcendence from, the anxieties or the kind of pressures of contemporary life. And so this really kind of this coming through, I think. But
yeah,
it's
we constantly need reminder, like a knock is a reminder, a scream is a reminder. Our voice is always constantly telling us what to do, how to do it. You shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. It's like but sometimes you just need a moment to pause and to kind of, as you kind of form those actions kind of form a sequence itself, and it becomes a ritual, in a way. So yeah.
And so is a lot of your performance improvisationally based, or do you, what can you explain your process a little bit? Are you, do you come up with the concept and have, sketches of how you want to do things? Or is it very prescribed and then you embody, these kind of prescribed situations or choreographies? How do you
So basically my artistic process always allows me to questions, like to question myself. Like, why are you doing that? What does this mean? And like why what does it symbolize? Things like, so those questions sometimes I can't answer. I will go around asking people that, that I didn't know that is like my way of research is actually going kind of confronting my own reality, and asking people questions that, and I wanted to hear their point of view. And that's how I begin to kind of find the right material or the suitable metaphor to use for that certain, for instance, a certain emotion, or so that how it felt. And I'll be doing the action by myself, creating the demo. So I use myself a lot, and I do videos and all that, so it becomes, my process has like sound or even video documentation, interviews, and so yeah, it actually becomes a project.
Like very research based in that way, but
Yes,
totally,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
No, that's fascinating. I mean, and again, going back to your community based work, I think there is that common thread of, when you're doing the research and, interviewing people to get information for your projects, there is that connection, that fundamental human connection, right? I think that is
It's very
really
important. Yes.
interesting. And yeah.
I can't just do research based on using Google. I have to, go out there and meet people. The
Mhm.
source of like a certain, the source of it, where I wanted to research on, and for me, that's how I am able to have conviction, to carry on. Yeah, and I feel that I want to keep myself to be as to confront the reality as much as possible.
Like just rooted, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, I mean, in hearing that and understanding that about your practice, the pandemic and the lockdown must have been very difficult for you. That isolation, or not so much? I mean, and I
To be
maybe,
honest,
pardon?
no.
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
I love being at home actually.
Yeah.
I like to isolate. Actually, I came up with a new work that is something to do with wall. We are
Uh-huh.
surrounded with concrete wall. So I actually I created, I'm working on a new piece that's about war,
Oh,
and
fascinating.
also
Yeah.
that really, really all coming out from the pandemic, in fact. Yeah.
Well,
So for me, it's more of a retreat, like hibernation, like you're hibernating in your own cave.
and you can really think inward and internally, and that.
Correct. So it's really about which angle our perception, allow us to be, sometimes if you want to think of it badly, then you will become bad. So it's really about teaching your own perception.
No, that's great. And in talking about the pandemic period, because, when we started working together, and I was introduced to you through Boon Hui, it was wonderful to make that connection. You were going to come to New York, we were going to do the installation, everything was going to be interactive, you were going to, collaborate. And then when we all had to go under lockdown, we totally had to do 180 and pivot. And so if you could talk a little bit about how you were able to pivot, to create the work that we just saw. It was so powerful. How what was your process like in order to think from a very visceral, physical, interactive situation to something that was virtual, which is very different, you know? But I think, you know, you were still able in the performance we just saw to convey that viscerality and that connection. So how were you able to do that?
Honestly, this is one of the few times that I couldn't control how my work is going.
And can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Because I don't, you know, because of what's happening, I'm not allowed to control everything. So I kind of like tell myself, okay, you know, I have to work with shadows then, you know. Shadows has no body, is formless. You know, so from there I try to make it as poetic as possible in terms of the hammers. If somebody can't use it, why not we use the shadow then? Because even during a pandemic, all we see was your own shadow more than the person you see, you know, because there's no physical element to it, you know. So you are constantly seeing your own shadow. Yeah.
It's that trace of your existence or your experience.
Yeah. So for me, I always fascinated with shadow, but then you need light to have shadow. So light itself is actually a very positive element in a way, you know. So you have to be alone, and then you have your shadow with you, and then what you're gonna do, you know? You are going to hit something, but then there's no pain, you know. So it's a very nice poetic gesture to it, you know. Yeah, so that's how I try to change the angle of the work. And yeah, and thankfully I'm able to do it, you know. And also with the performance that I'm trying to use this opportunity to also introduce a very sacred place in Singapore for me, a very sacred place, the Dragon Kiln. So, you know, if it's not a performance that I can actually, that I supposed to present virtually, I'm not able to introduce this space to the audience, you know. So I thought, okay, I would like to present my performance in this space, and, you know, to let people know that in Singapore there is such wonderful nature spaces, you know, where, yeah, so.
That's wonderful. And, you know, through this experience of working under, you know, being forced to kind of pivot in this way, were there processes or experiences that you think that you'll carry through beyond the pandemic? Ways of working that
I think because of the performance element, I actually use a team of production crew. In terms of the sound, I have the sound engineers and the sound recording, and the video, I have the videographers, you know. So it's nice to also work together with a team to realize what you have without knowing exactly where it's going to, you know, how it's going to be. And I really feel like, you know, fantastic to work with a team, and I hope that in the near future I can continue working with them. You know, I don't want to just do work on my own, and I would like to work more with people, together. Yeah.
to collaborate. Yeah.
Yes.
And you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation that you have a band. Is it a rock band? Like what kind of?
Oh, it's a fantastic band. No, it's a band that I formed. We've been playing for like more than 6-7 years together, and this band is all made of artists and musicians. So it's called Qianpima, Qiampima. You know, we have a YouTube video performance, and recently we launched an album. So
Oh, fantastic! Well, we'll have
yes.
share
So this band allows me to be myself, you know, and we all listen very well to each other, and we have incredible chemistry together, making music, and we all oftenly improvise a lot. So that kind of allows me to also carry on performing. I feel, because in a way I feel like it's also training my intuition. Our intuition constantly needs to be trained, to confront that chance and something that is very open, and to have that kind of confidence to do so. So
to trust that intuition, right? Because
correct.
I think as we grow up and we learn how to be rational, responsible adults, I think we tend to discount the intuition. But I think that it's such a mistake, right? I think that's
it's good to not be in control, And I think in our society now, we are oftenly too much in control. and everything has to be rational, like everything has to be explained. There's nothing left for mystery, or like everything needs to make sense, but it's not true. Doesn't have to be everything that makes sense, doesn't have to be. So
I mean, serendipity can be so magical, right?
it is. Yes, the word magic. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Definitely. But you just have to, I think it actually can be all around you, but you just have to, I think, like what you're saying, train your eyes and train your ears to see it, right? And to experience, to allow yourself to
yes, exactly. Our senses, to listen. Yeah.
And I think that your work, both, your installation work and also your performance work, that embodies that ideal so beautifully. Just to be in tune with that part of the more mystical side of life, I think that's there all around, and that can guide you in a very very wonderful way, and powerful way, if you let it. And I'm curious, anGie, because your practice is so multifaceted. I mean, do you see it all as one piece, or do you think about them as different elements of your work? Like, do you separate them, or do you think about it more as a continuum?
I never separate my work based on medium. For me, it's like a body, and then you have the parts, your body parts. Yeah, it's all connected, you can't leave one without. So sometimes I feel that I have this certain idea and I can't convey it in a very specific medium, right? So I will normally discover a new medium and to learn that medium, and then to work with it, and then to kind of combine everything together. It's very hard for me just to work on one medium, because it's not enough to convince myself that, okay, it's enough, I'm quite obsessed with creating a complete experience. So but I have to be more, I have to be learn to be more objective, in my way of dealing.
No, but I think it's a very ambitious perspective, and it's very bold to think in this holistic way, and thinking just, multidimensionally and multisensory. It's very powerful and really compelling.
Thank you for saying that, because sometimes I make myself so tired to just for me to tell myself, okay, it's done, it's but it's for me, it creates meaning, so be it.
And is there something that, how do you know that it's done then? I mean, kind of going on that track, what makes you feel like, okay, I'm satisfied, or I've captured this sensibility that I was looking to tap into?
When I didn't want to look at it anymore.
Okay.
That is like a calling, like a hint. Okay, it's done. Then after that, maybe I'll just leave it for a while and I'll look at it again, or to like revisit it, like to see everything is okay, then I'm okay. You know, you kind of know, okay, it's complete, you know.
It feels like it's its own thing, like it has its own identity or its own life.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Well, and that idea that you just mentioned of like, you don't want to look at it anymore. I mean, that was something that we talked about a little bit earlier, where you said after performance, you know, you embodied the performance so fully that it's very hard for you to watch afterwards, right? I mean, can you talk about that a little
I
bit?
feel like I'm a different person, you know, when I'm performing, like in a state of that it feels like I'm in a trance state, you know, when I'm performing. So when I couldn't watch myself, or it's just too much for me, or to hear myself. Yeah, because for me, once I'm done with a performance, I mean, I leave it there, you know, that's my, so for me, it's very hard. Just couldn't explain why, but it's just, I can't see myself, can't watch myself. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's understandable. Well, we really enjoyed watching you and listening to you. I mean, again, it was such a powerful expression and performance. So you should feel very proud. And we're certainly so proud and thrilled to be able to premiere this work at Asia Society. So I really hope that it's the beginning of many collaborations together.
Yeah, hopefully. So one day I can perform live in New York.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be wonderful. Well, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience? You know, either about this particular performance or your participation in the triennial more broadly, or your practice, or you know.
I just hope that people can go and get to see the Triennale. Yeah, like to check out all the works, the physical works. Yeah, to go out. Yeah, able to. Yeah.
Yes, you and I both. Well, anGie, thank you so much. This has been really
Thank you for having me.
having
Thank
this
you.
opportunity. And everybody, I do hope that you'll be able to come to the Triennial and see anGie's fabulous installation. And we'll be posting this performance so that, you know, please encourage your friends and others you think that would be interested to see it. It's really a powerful statement. So thank you again, anGie. It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure to have you. We look forward to more conversations together.
Yes.
Great. And thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll